51st pick in the 2022 NFL Draft, the Philadelphia Eagles selected center Cam Jurgens from Nebraska. Welcome in to Eagles Draft Central, presented by Dietz Watson. I'm Gabriella DiGiovanni, joined by Fran Duffy and Ross Tucker. Initial thoughts, guys, getting a big boy up front. We know the Eagles love it.
Yeah, so do I. I love when they take an offensive lineman. So a couple of things need to be said. Number one, the guy has his own beef jerky company called Beef Jerky. I'm sold. I'm sold already on him with just having that. The other thing that needs to be said, when you are the Eagles, they have an organizational philosophy when it comes to offensive linemen. They are going to make sure that they're always covered there. I know an interior offensive lineman might not be the sexiest pick for the fans, and maybe a guy that might not play a lot till next year, until you need that guy.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Until you need it, or you have injuries. Remember, Brandon Brooks retired. Sayamalo coming off an injury. You don't know when you're going to need Cam Jurgens.
We said that last year when the Eagles selected Landon Dickerson, and what happened? Landon Dickerson ended up becoming a big-time player for this Eagles team in the meat of the schedule as the Eagles got on that winning streak. For me, I talked about Cam Jurgens on the pre-show earlier tonight, and the reason why, I had no idea that the Eagles were this interested in him. He was just one of my favorite players to study. This guy is a rolling ball of razor blades when he is on the move. One of the most athletic linemen in this class, one of the toughest, nastiest linemen in this class. He takes pure enjoyment on getting defenders on the ground. He is so much fun to watch. I can't wait to see him here in this Eagles scheme.
He originally was recruited as a tight end.
Yeah.
He arrived to Nebraska as a tight end, and Scott Frost made the decision to move him to the offensive line. Now, Scott Frost caught a lot of heat in the beginning of Cam Jurgens' career. He was kind of stacking up some bad snaps, and Scott Frost stood strong and said he believed in his explosiveness, he believed he was a smart player, and knew Cam Jurgens wanted to be a good center. So I think that says a lot about Cam Jurgens as a player. He was going to stick to it until he became good. But also, when you look at where he landed, we applaud Jeff Stoutland all the time for his ability to really develop young offensive linemen. You put Cam Jurgens in a room with Jeff Stoutland, I think good things are going to happen over the next few years.
Well, and not just Jeff Stoutland, but Jason Kelce.
Yep.
I mean, he gets to learn from Jason Kelce for at least this year, who knows how many years. That is huge. I mean, Jason Kelce's the best center in the NFL. They have a very similar skill set. They're both very athletic. They're mobile. One of my former coaches coached Cam Jurgens at Nebraska. He got there at 235 pounds.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
He played running back in high school, running back in tight end. To give you an idea of the type of athlete he is, remember, Jason Kelce played linebacker at Cincinnati as a walk-on until he got moved. Those are the type of athletes you're looking for at the center spot. You want that mobility and agility. We've all seen the videos and the highlights of Kelce on screens and getting out in space.
That's what Jurgens is all about. And you go back to his high school career, not only did he play running back and he came in as a tight end, but he was a 245-pound, 4-time state champ in the discus, 3 times in the shot put. That's power. That's a guy that has that ability in his lower half to be able to create movement on his own. That stands out to me on film. Ella, you talked about how they were willing to stick with him as a freshman center. He was the first freshman to start at center since Richard Nixon was in office. That's how long Nebraska, one of the most storied programs in college football history, had gone without a freshman center. He came in and hit the ground running his first time playing offensive line.
Ended up starting 31 of 32 games. So that's a kid with a lot of tenacity and just a drive to want to be good at what he's doing, the task that's in front of him. And I think that will bode very well here in Philadelphia.
Well, think about what they did last year. They got Landon Dickerson in the second round. He ends up starting most of the year and becoming a force. I mean, a difference-making force along with Jordan Mailata. They are always going to make sure, they being the Eagles, of course, that they're covered up front. Really both sides of the ball. I mean, we should not be surprised at this point when they go D-line, O-line, O-line, D-line. That's the Philadelphia Eagles.
That's the philosophy. We talked about it last night when they selected Jordan Davis. They trade up to get Jordan Davis. There is no quicker way to derail a season than to have your offensive line and your defensive line go off the rails. And that's what the Eagles try and disrupt, is by continuing to influx new young talent year after year after year.
Brandon, it's a great point. It happens to other teams all the time.
No doubt. Every season.
All the time, other teams are like, they don't have a guy that can play tackle.
Yep.
You know, and they get beat up every game, and they finish 5-12 or whatever. The Eagles pretty much, even the year when they had everybody get hurt, they still never really allow that to happen. They always make sure they have enough competent guys.
No doubt.
Well, we're going to welcome in Eagles insider Dave Spadaro, who is inside the draft room. Dave, how's it going over there? Tell us what was going on during this Cam Jurgens pick at 51.
I sure will, Ella. But first, I want to add that I believe Cam Jurgens was a punter in high school also. So add that to his list of to-dos. I mean, he's an amazing athlete. And it was very cool inside the draft room. All of the scouts, the coaches were there. Obviously, Jeff Stoutland was the most outwardly joyful of the coaches because, again, they take care of Jeff Stoutland, and he understands why. Howie Roseman gets everybody lined up, gets Cam on the phone, welcomes him to Philadelphia, goes around the room, fist bumps everybody. Nick Sirianni talks to Cam as well. He fist bumps everybody around the room. And this is a player who obviously the Eagles had rated very, very highly. So it's an opportunity for everyone to come in and celebrate the draft pick. Everyone on the same page with the pick, everyone celebrating the pick, and the Philadelphia Eagles bringing in another talented player who, along with all the attributes that you have talked about, the one that I've heard the most from inside that room is that he's someone that plays to and through the whistle on every point. And one coach turned to me and said, I kind of like quizzically looked at me. He said, "You think that's usual? You think that everybody does that?" Well, that's not the way it is. That's not the way it is in any level of football. This is a player who has that kind of effort. And they understand what it means to the offensive line now. But last night, look, Jordan Davis, we don't know how much he's going to play. He's somebody who's going to be a pick for now and for the future. The Eagles are always going to consider looking forward in their draft picks, in their personnel acquisitions. So it was absolutely great energy, great electricity, and a celebration in that room. Cam Jurgens is somebody they really, really coveted.
Well, Dave, I'm glad to hear you talk about how they value his toughness. One of my notes was he consistently plays through the echo of the whistle. Literally, he is one of the last guys moving on every single play. He's just so much fun to watch. I think Philadelphia Eagles fans are going to love him. Take us to just give us a little bit of a picture of this offensive line. We have an idea of who the starters might be, but there's going to be some great competition for spots in camp. Obviously, a lot of young players in the mix here, a lot of versatility up front.
Yeah, for sure. And look, again, you made the point of Landon Dickerson last year selected. We thought, hey, is he going to have a redshirt year? Turned out that he was in the lineup early, played through the season, and is a stalwart and one of the building blocks for this offensive line. He and Jordan Mailata team up on the left side, Jason Kelce at center. I would suspect Isaac Seumalo at right guard, making that move to right guard. And then, of course, at right tackle, Lane Johnson, with the likes of Jurgens and Nate Herbig and Driscoll, etc., backing up. I can't remember, and Fran and Ross, let's talk about this. The quality of depth along this offensive line is as unprecedented as I can remember. The frontline talent, you've got Pro Bowlers from tackle to tackle, and you've got this young group of really, really good players who are going to be, if you believe in iron sharpening iron, this offensive line will be deep, will be talented, and will be built to sustain a 17-game regular season and hopefully the postseason as well.
Dave, you talked a lot yesterday about Jordan Davis being able to learn from guys like Fletcher Cox and Javon Hargrave. I have to think Cam Jurgens being able to learn from Jason Kelce was a major factor in this, especially since they have similar skill sets.
Absolutely, Ross. And in fact, Kelce's been out there talking about it, that this is his favorite player in the draft. Jason Kelce's very aware of the landscape here, okay? There are no surprises. There's great communication between the coaching staff with Howie and with Jason Kelce, with Landon Dickerson, with any player affected by a draft pick. So everybody understands what this pick means, okay? So for that, and there's also this factor. Greg Austin, the coach out at Nebraska, worked with Stout for years in the Chip Kelly era. So Cam will come into Philadelphia understanding the terminology, understanding the system. He'll pick it up really quickly and get on the field and have an opportunity to really show what he can do rather than be bottled down by the thinking and that sort of stuff. So, yeah, I mean, look, it absolutely, this offensive line, this is the philosophy of a winning football program. You build from the line of scrimmage out. The Eagles did it last night. The Eagles did it tonight. Still have one more pick to go. We'll see where they go with it here. But in this third round, but certainly they are built to be deep on both sides of the line of scrimmage, and that is oh so important. This is a marathon. This is a war of attrition. Now, that 17th game, we saw how it impacted teams down the stretch last year. The Eagles played their best football down the stretch because they had built depth along the line of scrimmage.
I love the connection there with Greg Austin. I had completely forgotten that he was there. That's a great, to me, when you get into the NFL draft, especially when you get into the middle rounds, you get into day 2, day 3, you start to see those connections really start to matter. Dave, just looking forward now into round 3. Round 3 has started here with the NFL draft. Just thoughts about what could happen here the rest of the night.
You're really going to ask me? I mean, what do you want me to say? Did you really think a center would be the pick at number 51? How do you really know? Look, I think there's obviously great quality players here. And there is still the idea that will the Eagles look to pick up more draft picks for day 3? The cupboard's a bit bare, having dealt some of these draft assets earlier last night. So, Fran, look, I think you stick with your board, and the Eagles have been very disciplined doing that, and you take good football players. This is about building something that's going to sustain, and that's what Howie said way back when this offseason began. Build to sustain, and that's what the Philadelphia Eagles have done, very disciplined all the way through 2 rounds into the 3rd round of this 2022 NFL Draft.
All right, Dave, thank you so much for your time. We will certainly be checking back in with you after round 3.
Can't wait to get back in there.
Thanks, Dave. All right, guys, I think that'll do it for us. Last night, they were beefing up the D-line. Tonight, beefing up the offensive line. I'm excited to get digging into round 3, see what the Eagles have in store.
There's still some good players out there.
No doubt.
Yeah, there's still some good players. They're going to get another one.
Future starters all through rounds 3, round 4, round 5. Let's see if we can go find them.
All right, we'll be live immediately following that 83rd pick at the end of round 3. That'll do it for us. And as always, go Birds.